have something in my Lego Friends City that's not Lego. Welcome back. The first step to building any Lego city is to have a base to put your city on. While traditionally I am a Lego purist, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm using non-Lego base plates, and here's why. This is a Lego brand base plate. This is from Bricks and Minifigs. Let me show you the difference. A Lego base plate doesn't have anything on the back. It just sits. You can't attach it to anything else. The Bricks and Minifigs can attach just like any regular Lego plate, and it is 100% Lego compatible. This is called Modular Integrated Landscaping System, or MILS plating. It's a technique that allows Lego buildings and scenes to fit together seamlessly, including roads and water features that traditionally sit below street level. A MILS plate has 2 layers of plates with 1 or more brick layers in between. This gives you a much sturdier base for your structure and a cleaner overall look. If you're using Lego parts, you start with a base plate on the bottom, bricks in the middle, and plates on top. The brick and plate combination can get pricey depending on what you have on hand. You can't use a second Lego base plate on top because the underside has nothing to connect with. For my build, I went with Bricks and Minifigs brand plates. It's cheaper and a lot less time consuming. There's a few things you're going to need when you're working with MILS plates. If you have more than one, you're going to need to connect them together with these Technic pieces. Depending on where you are placing your MILS plate, you may have an outer edge that needs to be aesthetically pleasing. So in this case, the outer edge that's facing forward on my city needs to be green all the way around so it matches. The other edges don't matter because they're going to be connected and bumping up against another plate. That's where the Technic brick comes in. What size bricks you use on the inside of your MILS plate is totally up to you. You want to make sure you use enough to accommodate whatever plates, so you don't have, for example, plates bowing in the center because they're too big and there's nothing in the middle supporting it. You also want to consider that if you put a bunch of them next to each other and you don't actually connect the plates to each other, when you go to pick up your MILS plate, it pops in the middle because these guys aren't connected. So you want to make sure that even the plates themselves are connected to each other all along. In my case, because I've chosen to use one solid plate on top, it's going to be a lot easier and I won't need as many, but I do want support in the center so the plate doesn't bow. Let's get started. All right, I finished the entire edge on this one using a configuration of things that I have extras of. You may find it more convenient to use 2x4s, but I happen to have a ton of 2x3s. I also have 1.6 million 1x3s in green, so I'm going to be using those on the outer edge. As you can see, I have Technic here and here, and this is going to help secure it to the other sides. I actually need Technic in the back too because I'm going to be snapping it up against one plate here, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. All right, now we have all 3 sides. I'm keeping it consistent and putting mine starting at the 7th stud in. That way, from here on out in every single base plate, I'm going to put it in the exact same place. So it's going to be 6 studs in, then a Technic, 6 studs in, then a Technic. So I know all of them will connect once I put the pins inside. I have done a lot of MILS plates, so I know what they can be like with just a few bricks inside. You can take your chances if you want. This isn't going to be moving anywhere. It's going to stay in my house, so that might work out fine to have less bricks. But I'm of the mind, the more the merrier. Now I'm going to secure this all the way around. Got the edges done. And this feels pretty secure there. Yep, no bowing at all. This thing's not going anywhere. Nice and solid. If you built any Lego set on top of this, you could easily move it about your house, take it out for display or whatever you want. Just 29 more to go. This is going to take a while. All right, so we're getting ready to make the rest of the base plates, except for this one thing. My local stores were out of stock, so I do not have plates to cover both sides of the table right now, but I do have enough to cover one table, and we're going to take something into consideration. So these are the blue for the actual heart lake. So when I do the heart lake, it is not going to be MILS plated. it's water, so technically it's lower than the ground. So it will be at the bottom like this, and we'll make sure that the side facing the water is green so that it looks like grass or nature. It could actually be brown if we wanted and make it dirt, whatever. But these will not be Mills plated because we're gonna make the the banks actually go down into the water so that when people are in the water, they look like they're down from the earth. So let's get started with what we have. These guys right here are completely faded whites. These are ugly, but these are perfect for inside builds like this where no one is going to see them, so save them. I've got the front row done. Remember that the front row, just facing, has to have the green on the front. The rest of it didn't matter for that first one. Same thing with the second one. Didn't matter. It's going to connect at the front and the green is facing outward. This one was a little bit different. This one is going to be butting up against the water, so it had to be green on two sides. Now, putting in the green along the edge doesn't matter anymore because everything's going on the back, except there's one plate on the top corner that needs to be green on the outer edge where you might walk around and see it. All right, so now we've completed the back row as well. So we've got 5 base plates for the back. This is the edge. The only thing you're gonna see on this is that outer edge on the right side of the table. This will be back against the window. No one's gonna see it. Let's get started on the middle row. I finished all the plates for this one table. And I think I made one mistake in an edge that I think lines up with the water that I wasn't thinking about. So let's lay them out and see how I did. All right, so this side is green on the outside. This is the back row. And here's the mistake I made. This needs to be green as well because our water goes here. And I just missed that one edge. So let's get that fixed really quick. All right, so I actually had to fix 2 of them. So there's the outer edge that comes along, and I had to fix this one as 2 because it shows up, which means I probably also made that same mistake here on the middle row. I want to make sure that you guys see mistakes as I make them as well, so you know I'm not perfect and you don't have to be either. And that's the 5 plates. This is the mistake. I do have a green here, so maybe I was smart enough and did that. Well, at least I did that one. But how about my front row? Yep, did it right there too. There and there. All right, so we've got the beginnings of a city. So to connect your plates together, which are now Mills plated and have Technic on here, you're gonna need pins. There are all different types of Technic pins, so you need to make sure that you have the right ones. You don't want to end up with one that has an actual axle piece on one end and a pin on the other. You need a pin on both ends in order to connect. And then you just place them right in here. You can use whichever hole you want. Doesn't matter, we're only using one. Right? So that hits up against another plate who we've apparently, hopefully, lined up perfectly, right? Sometimes you need to lift a little to get it to sit in there. And now it sits nicely and it lines up beautifully.
This section came out great and it's ready for buildings.
So we've gotten a lot of work done on our base plates and the city is making progress. Next week, we're gonna take a break from Mills Plating. I do have an order coming in for all of the other plates, but let's do something fun. Let's get started on a set and get this city moving along. I'll see you next week.